You know, you guys, it seems that following up their impressive run to the top as NBA champions last season, is that all we've really heard about the Golden State Warriors since that point in time has had to do with their failure to live up to expectations this season. And honestly, no matter what you've read about this team, whether it might have to do with their struggling inconsistency, their health issues, or even specific players that have been disappointing so far this season, the media is leading you in the absolute opposite direction of thinking that despite all of this team still sits just 2 games out of being a top 3 seed in their respective conference, while also clearly gaining noticeable momentum over the last few weeks. And well, how the Golden State Warriors have been able to seemingly flip the switch by turning it around in the win column is something that a lot of us probably should have seen coming, or at least expected from the Dubs, a lot sooner this season, so let's get into it. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. But before we go any further, today's video is brought to you by our friends at PIA VPN. Now, while most of you probably know what VPNs are, you might not know that some of them still log your internet data without your permission. But with PIA's well-established VPN that both hides your IP address and encrypts your internet data, while also working to block ads, trackers, and malicious websites, you are guaranteed 100% anonymity online. And by also beating geo restrictions with serving connection points in 84 different countries and every US state, you can avoid sporting event blackouts on major streaming platforms. And with being available on Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, and more, just one subscription can protect up to 10 of your devices at the same time. But if you go down to the link in our bio, PIA won't just hook you guys up with a ridiculous 83% discount, but you'll also receive 4 months of their VPN's use completely free. So once again, be sure to go down to the link in our bio to get yourself the world-class online protector in PIA VPN. Now, to get back on topic with the Golden State Warriors, despite what you might think right off of the bat when considering their slightly above 500 record so far this season, there has in fact been more than enough flashes of what this Golden State Warrior team could be capable of when playing their best basketball. And also, as ridiculous as this might sound to some of you, they've actually looked better at times this season than they did at any point in the year prior. And while there are legitimate stats to back that point up, where we've actually seen them look this good would undeniably be on their home court more than anywhere else. Because yes, I'm sure you've all at least heard about the discrepancy this team has shown us between their performances at and away from the Chase Center so far this season, but instead of being a discrepancy as we mentioned, it's slowly become more and more of an anomaly as the season has progressed. And at home this season, like their record in this regard would show, at least offensively, they have been a far improved team from what was seen all throughout last year, while also even keeping pace with their historic defensive efficiency as well. But on the road, for the most part this season, this team has almost entirely taken a 180 turn. And of course, while the reasons for this insane difference are rather tough to pinpoint, what can be found from all of this is the biggest outliers within this team's play throughout the year as to why these guys sit where they currently are. And of all the outliers we've seen, I don't think there's much of a bigger one than the health status of this team really for the entire year. And I know that some of you are probably rushing to the comments already to tell me don't give me that health nonsense because every team in the league deals with it. And yes, while I clearly will not deny that, the gap we've seen between a healthy and non-healthy Golden State Warrior team this year is, with no exaggeration, nothing short of absurd. Because when we're talking about a typical starting five for the Warriors of Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Kevon Looney, they aren't just clearly a better offensive unit as most people would generally expect, but statistically speaking at least, you could actually make the case that they are one of the most efficient on-court lineups that we have seen in NBA history. And it's not even like the numbers we're looking at are just a small sample size, because we've seen these guys in just about half of the Warriors' games up to this point this season already. And obviously, while numbers like this are just about borderline impossible to sustain as a team from top to bottom, the continued inconsistency of health at the top of the roster has in turn resulted in a heavy reliance over-reliance on the rest of this team, specifically their role players. Which, if you were to ask almost anyone through the first portion of the year, they would say that this was also arguably one of the biggest issues of them all. Because to start with a guy like Jordan Poole, who is having just about the worst year efficiently that really anyone could have possibly expected. On the contrary, over the last few games and stretch of the season, he's been nothing short of exceptional in bringing to the table exactly what's been needed of him on a night in and night out basis. And of course, you also got the new faces and guys like Dante DiVincenzo, JaMychal Green, and even Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome, who, while some have been up and down through the year as well, have slowly been perfecting their roles more and more, and it's been clear as day when you take a look at the film. Because whether acting as spot-up off-ball threats from deep, creating their own opportunities and plays through the swing of the offense, or even their underrated defensive presence as a whole as well, their impact when operating in their intended roles has been phenomenal over the last few weeks. Then, of course, as we could never forget, there's also the quote-unquote future of the dynasty in Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and James Wiseman. And when getting into these guys, I think it's pretty safe to say that Jonathan Kuminga has made the most solid case this season of taking the biggest leap out of the whole group. Because while taking a look at his numbers, yes, they do not stand out as eye-popping by any stretch of the imagination, but with what's been seen through his play this year, both from an offensive and defensive perspective, he has undoubtedly stepped up to become a vital rotational piece of this team and even be a very solid fill-in for Andrew Wiggins when he is out with injury. And may I remind some of you who have been on Jonathan Kuminga's case and the production that he brings to the table, you're still dealing with a 20-year-old that seems to have a lot of development left in the tank. Then for Moses Moody, who has also absolutely ran into his up and down struggles so far this year, it doesn't feel like a stretch whatsoever to say that he's shown us from time to time that he can be a viable bench piece for this team that is only going to continue to improve as he gains experience. But then there's James Wiseman, which, as far as I can tell, he might be seeing his last days in a Dubs uniform in the coming days, and I would love to hear what you guys think about that entire situation in the comments as well. But at this point, he just looks to be a valuable trade asset that could maybe land someone who fits more seamlessly with the roster put together. Nonetheless though, the point trying to be made from all of this is that finally, after seeing this team at full strength for almost the first stretch of the entire season, I'll just tell you straight up that it's absolutely no coincidence the trend that we've been seeing on the offensive side of the ball. Because as seen through their play, with their offense being much more free-flowing, the efficiency of their ball movement being at a season high, and also being the literal most productive offense in the NBA over the last 2 weeks, it's just funny how, along with the exceptional play of Steph and Klay returning together on a nightly basis, how much people continue to underestimate the value of veteran presence. Because now, with this Dubs team from top to bottom finally having their guys be able to settle into the roles they were originally assigned at the beginning of this season, while there's still definitely some things that this team will need to prove to us over the next few weeks leading up to the playoffs, it is slowly starting to look like this team knew exactly what they were doing in terms of compiling a roster to make a repeat championship appearance. But of course, as you guys know, with everything we discuss, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Nonetheless though, you guys, with everything we've discussed so far regarding the Golden State Warriors, I am of course extremely curious to hear what you have to think about their situation. So please be sure to let me know in the comments what has been the most surprising part to you about everything seen from this Dubs team so far into the 2023 season. And also, if you had to pick one area of this team, where do you think they need to improve the most in order to make a repeat run to the NBA Finals? But again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to drop a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there to never miss another NBA video. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you out there for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything. You all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.